Let's look at least 5 things or 5 reasons why marriages are failing, especially in Kenya today. We have all become too busy looking for money. We have all become busy people that most of the times we don't even have time for our families. As a matter of fact, not even families, even for our own spouses. The wife is busy, the husband is busy, all in the name of looking for money to make our lives bearable and more comfortable. But I want to remind you this. As you look for money, as you try to make both ends meet, you still have a duty to fulfill. What is killing marriages in 21st century is what we call lack of intimacy and sex. If you don't love your spouse, we have got so many hovering ravenous hyenas out there that will actually divine a loot for your spouse. So what I would tell you, number one, no matter how busy you are, you must first of all prove to your person that you love him or her, that you have feelings for him or her, and at the same time meet the emotional needs of your spouse. And let me tell you this, it does not matter what you have to say. Don't try to come up with what we call some hypothetical situations and what we call concepts. Your spouse requires to be loved, and at the same time, the emotional need met. If you do that, I can give you an assurance that your marriage will survive. Please note that and pay attention to that. Something else. If your spouse realizes that you have an affair, whether emotional or physical, never at any one time express your emotional feelings to another party who is not your spouse. It does not matter how handsome a man looks like. If a woman makes a comment in a manner likely to suggest that he has actually fallen for that man, or there comes a slight thinking that the woman has seen something that has been missing in the man, that one starts now giving the crack of the marriage. And from that moment onwards, life will never be the same again. Never compliment a party before your spouse. This statement may become a bit controversial. I have said this, never have an affair, whether emotional or physical. And if you must have it, I do not want to give any suggestion. If a man fights another woman with a body morphology which is with a body that is very curvaceous, you do not go talking about it. Just keep quiet. Because the moment you utter a word about the endowment of that particular individual, that brings a crack in the family. Avoid relationships that will be detrimental to your marriage life. Please take note of that. Avoid making comments that may bring problems to your family and more so to your husband or your wife. Then something else that brings down marriages in 21st century is what we call lack of clear boundaries in the relationship. If you are a married man, you cannot afford going praying aloud with other women, and more so in the presence of your wife. You must stick to the lane. If you are a married man, please, you must make sure the boundaries are properly marked and observed. Don't go joking aloud with other women out there. Please strictly adhere to the person that the Lord has given you. Do not become greedy. Stick to that particular boundary. Similarly, even a wife. And as a matter of fact, if you are a married woman, you had all the time to sample the kind of individuals that you had in life. Now that you settled on this particular individual that you have, please stick to the lane. Behave like the SGR, the standard gauge railway. Does not matter whether anybody has a commitment in Machakos. It can't digress. It can't divert. So similarly, you are now somebody's wife. Stick to the lane and boundaries of your marriage. Avoid men who come praising you with a view of starting to wreak havoc in your family. Men are people who keep on testing. So the moment you become a victim of becoming a testing specimen, that is what starts bringing issues to your marriage. Avoid giving people your phone number for no reason. If you have no business with that particular man who is demanding the number from you, why should you give that cell phone number? What for? You are not business associates. You have nothing in common. Why do you want to quote a disaster in your family? Avoid getting those giving out your number. And even men similarly should not go dishing out your number. only on very special cases should you go giving your number. If you're actually in a business, and of course, when you give your number, give conditions that this number I have given you is purely for business purposes only. Special purpose number. That you only call me when the demand on the ground demands so. Not because don't call somebody's wife at 9 p.m., 10 p.m., midnight. What business do you have? You can imagine their busy sleeping and a man just makes a call. What do you think goes through the mind of this person called your husband, or the vice versa? So please make sure that you set boundaries and you strictly adhere to those boundaries. I'm very brief and to the point. The other thing, growing apart, no joint interests. If you realize that in your family, the woman learns an account which is always hidden. If you realize that your wife is doing things, economic things, and you're never involved in what we call the monetary position, there's a danger there. Similarly to a man, if a man is busy doing business deals out there and he does not disclose what goes on in terms of money, that one will still bring what we call a lift. If you accepted to marry each other, there is nothing that is so special outside you people becoming open to each other. If I make $1 million, why don't I tell my wife I make $1 million and I have committed my money in this way? If a wife makes $1 million shillings, why not also give full disclosure? Because this issue of money has been one of the key things that has made many families to dissolve. And I'm telling you as an expert, I deal with people every day. So please make sure that you do not engage in businesses that separates you. If you are doing different businesses, there is no harm in you disclosing what it is that you get out of that particular business enterprise. There is no harm in sharing even the financials. There is no problem even sharing the balance sheet, as long as each party will agree to the terms of the business, that there is no point of me disclosing I have a 5 million shillings. Then you come now trying to get the 5 million shillings out of the business for your own selfish gains. No, it is important that you do not grow apart. So if you have what we call if you have no joint interests, that is also an indicator that the relationship that you have may come to what we call a dissolution. We do not advocate that. Let me go to the final point. For those people desirous of getting to, then we have what we call sex addiction or compulsive sexual behaviors. We normally advise people, when people are together, it is important that you draw some, it's good that you draw some understanding. You enter into what we call an MOU. Appreciate each other the way the person is. Do not become somebody who is totally insensitive to the party that you call your spouse. You people, you are mature. You are adults. You can agree. You can either agree or disagree without hurting each other. Make sure that anything that happens in that particular space of relationship, and more so what we call sex, it's agreeable upon. You know, men are all weather load. If you understand what I say by that. Men are all weather load. Unfortunately, women have what we call half times. God created them in such a way that they have got what we call half times. If you understand what I mean by that. It is important that you appreciate that when God gave our wives half times, He knew why He did it that way. So it is incumbent upon you as a man to appreciate that your spouse also has a say in this particular relationship. Do not bring other uncouth, very unsocial behaviors towards your spouse. As a matter of fact, the moment your wife realizes that you are behaving in a manner that you do not factor her emotional feelings, that you do not appreciate that that our body's systems operate differently, and at the same time our feelings are wired differently, that becomes the source of quarrels. That one becomes the source of disintegration. So I would urge all of you to enter into an agreement. You discuss and you agree and do things when they're supposed to be done. Sicknesses may arise. I also want to challenge women. Do not go forcing your man to behave in a manner which you think would fit you. Sometimes issues do come. Men who suffer from what we call diabetes, whether insipidus or mellitus, men who suffer from what we call high blood pressure, may have issues in terms of making their spouses very happy when it comes to bed issues. However, if there are other medication, appreciate that life is a bit different from the way it was before this man's health defeated from norm. Even similarly, when women are lactating or they are breastfeeding, there are things, they are emotional, they're what you call, we have what we refer to as hormones that sometimes tend to become imbalanced. It's important that you appreciate that we undergo, that we are actually, our body physiology, our body anatomy, physiology, and general physique behaves differently under different circumstances. If you can be able to follow those 5 points, I think your marriage will be okay. Should you have any issues pertaining to your marriages, you can always consult me. I do consultancy on those lines. If you have children who require to be mentored, and I'm a life coach, I do that. I'm a mentor. I do mentor young people. I mentor couples. I've been married for 31 years. And I can tell you, there is nothing that is too impossible. With God, all things are possible. Finally, communication. Yes, you are the man. You are the head of the family. But communicate. If you are not coming home early, why don't you take your phone and call your spouse and make her understand that due to a number of 1, 2, 3 reasons, you'll be late at home. What does it cost you? Communication. If you are a lady and you have an engagement out there that may take longer than usual, why don't you communicate to your spouse? Communication is actually the fertilizer that makes marriages to spur and grow in the right way. But for more information, my number is 0722 633 021. We can discuss more matters. I have handled many cases and I have seen the hand of God. So don't hesitate. At Panorama Consulting Company, we say our slogan is building others, making sure that we help people move from one level to another. And with God, once again, all things are possible. And for those who will get a chance of coming to Kitengela PCA tonight from 6:30 p.m. to 9 p.m., I'll be holding that particular seminar on the challenges that face parents of 21st century. May God bless you. Always a pleasure talking to you. Shalom, shalom, shalom. My name is, you can call me Mwangi Kebisho, or you can call me Dr. Kebisho, Wakili Kebisho, Mwadishi Kebisho, Artist Kebisho, Professor Kebisho, whichever name that suits you. Even if you call me plain Mwangi or plain Kebisho, it will be home and dry. May God bless you. Shalom, shalom, shalom.